Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Grace for Success. That's right. We are here with our leadership coach, Dr. Ted Davis, joining us here to talk more about the work he's doing from Grace Strategic Services and really helping so many, especially those CEOs out there, those executives, entrepreneurs, business owners. Listen up, people in transition who could use some help. And he's here. He has an amazing background, an amazing story. And the fact it's our first live Zoom show as well as the podcast today, I would love for you to start off by simply introducing yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jill. It's great to see you today. We've had great conversations. It's nice to see you live. Again, my name is Ted Davis, and I've been in the coaching, training, consulting business for 27 years. Really like to focus on leadership development, particularly strategic leaders. And so we have training programs, everything from the executive to first-time leaders, as well as coaching programs that help individuals and groups, small groups, group coaching as well.
Awesome.
Them develop their skills.
Well, and for people to reach out to you, I'm going to give them the website, grace4success.com. And what other ways would you like people to reach out to you?
My email, T-E-Davis, just one D, T-E-Davis at grace4success.com, which you just cited. And then my cell phone number, 913-306-1499. So either call me or send me a text.
Beautiful. Well, I think it's important that we start off with your background, your core values. Could you share a little bit about, what happened at West Point and your backstory kind of leading up to, what brought you here, if you don't mind?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. I am a West Point graduate, very blessed to have had that opportunity. I was recruited to play football, but then fell in love with first the academy and then the Army. I graduated in 1974, which just tells you that I'm an old man, 50 years since I graduated. And then spent 22 years active duty in the Army. Wonderful opportunity to serve the country, to work with wonderful leaders, to work with American soldiers who are just absolutely phenomenal people. And then for the last 27 years, have been working, again, as a consultant, trainer, and coach. So that's the quick overview. And I might add, happily married for 48 plus years.
Congratulations.
I've been incredibly blessed.
Well, I love your background, all you've done, and then here you are now helping those succeed further. How many years ago did you start the business? I mean, you were always coaching people, I think, right? Just in general, being who you are. But when did you officially start the business?
I officially started in December 1st, 1997.
Wow.
So it's been 27 years. And of course, we've matured over time. When I first got started, I wasn't sure what the market wanted, but the market quickly pulled me into leader development and to coaching. So it's been a great journey of finding out what customers want. I think the art of obviously marketing.
Yeah.
Finding out, hey, well, what does the client want? What do they need? What it is that they need and want? You're going to know both of those. What do they need and what do they want? And then what solutions can we provide? So my focus, and particularly I'd love to talk with you today about, is leader development.
Sure.
It's incredibly important that as business owners, number one, the owner or the general manager or the senior executive has got to constantly improve themselves. They've got to grow and develop. But then also you've got to be very intentional about developing your people. Because leader development is all about the expansion of a person's capacity to effectively fulfill a leadership role and processes. And those processes include how do they set direction, creating alignment within the organization, maintaining commitment of groups of people who share common work. And so leadership, that's a leader development, expanding somebody's capacity. Leadership development is the expansion of the collective capacity.
Of the whole company, you mean, or the whole?
Yeah, the whole leadership cadre. To include people who are not officially in a leadership or management position yet, but you see the raw talent, you recognize and you see people who have potential. And so you want to have leadership development, which is, again, the collective capacity of the organization to produce the direction and the alignment and the commitment. And then the leader development, where we then focus on individual. What is the program that we may enroll, not just everybody, but what's the specific plan for the man or the woman who is going to be leading, whether it's at the first entry-level leadership as a team leader, all the way up to the CEO of the largest corporations. Leadership development needs to be a constant.
Got it.
And that's hard to do because running a business is a constant thing, and there's constantly challenges, and you've got to constantly produce results. Right? I think in one of our previous conversations, you heard me say that every organization exists to deliver something of value to the marketplace. And so it's important for the strategic leaders to understand what is that value that we commit to deliver to the marketplace. So it's our value proposition that we're going to make to our customers or to our clients. And so that's an ongoing 24/7 process. Now you lay on top of that, not only do we have to run the business with all of its functions, everything from production, marketing, communications, finance and accounting, all the other marvelous functions that it takes to successfully manage a organization, sustain it. Now we got to do that by developing people. And I think leadership development is the overlap of what I call the three domains or the three spheres of people development. So if you remember Venn diagram.
Go ahead. Yeah. For new time listeners, we got to bring it up. Go ahead.
You remember the Venn diagrams when you were in high school, right? And maybe these three overlapping circles and how they have, and the overlap is the joining of things. Well, imagine three overlapping circles, Venn diagram. One of them is performance management. And that refers to the practices and procedures for identifying and communicating the desired performance that's needed to produce that value. But then supporting that is training management, which refers to the practices and procedures for selecting, scheduling, conducting, and monitoring training interventions. How do we prepare people for growth? And then the third overlapping circle is career management, which is the practices and procedures for helping individuals identify their desire. What is their career ambitions, and how do that align with the organization's future, and how do we prepare them? So those three things, performance management, training management, and career management, when you overlay them, that's what leader development is. How do I do all three of those? I have to be able to train people for their current position. If it's a first-time team leader, well, we've got to train them to be a team leader, while at the same time looking at it from a career management point of view. How do I get them education for the next level up? How do I help them educate for a lifetime, while at the same time giving them performance feedback, clear expectations of what has to be produced, observing their performance and giving them timely, meaningful feedback on how well they're doing. So those are the three domains that I like to talk about on people development and how they overlap with or are the foundation for good leadership development.
And just to confirm, what areas of CEOs, entrepreneurs are you dealing with? Are we talking, from software to executives to, are we doing local, franchise-owned operations? Just give us an idea of some of the clientele that you're working with. And I'm sure the majority of the field is vast, but just so we can, get some insight into the people that you are helping.
Well, I'm helping everybody from the CEO down to mid-level leaders. I don't do very much these days with first-time leaders, but I do a lot with training programs for experienced leaders to get better. So they've probably been in a job. But one of the things I like to say, part of our mission is to help managers become leaders and helping leaders reproduce themselves. So what I mean by that is, you get some young person who shows great potential or doing a good job, and we think they can manage. And so we're going to make them a team leader or some sort of level of supervisor. Well, that's a position.
Yeah.
And that position has duties, responsibilities, outcomes, and so forth. But we still have to teach them the leadership aspect of it. The leadership aspect is kind of the personal thing. And so we've got to be able to teach them not only how to be a manager, but then how to be a leader. One of my favorite books about leadership is one entitled The Leadership Challenge by James Kouzes and Barry Osner. I often tell people if you're going to only read one book on leadership, that's a mistake. But if you're going to do that, read that book. Anyway, I love the fact that the authors, they talk about the fact that leadership is a performing art. It's a collection of practices and behaviors. It's not a position. And our people don't willingly follow positions. They follow people. They follow leaders who are engaged in the process. So even though you may have a title of a manager or supervisor and so forth, when it comes to interacting with people, they're looking at the leadership, in other words, the human connection of it, because people don't get extraordinary things done unless they have the will to do so. So I love what Kouzes and Posner say about leadership. It says, excellence arises from within. It can't be imposed from without. And so that we then as leaders have got to solicit, I like to call it, we create motivating environments. We create environments that invite people to be excellent. And it takes some time to do that. And it takes not just simply the hard skills of your function, be it finance and accounting, it's manufacturing, it's sales, whatever it is, but it also takes the soft skills of working with people. Because leadership is an improvisational art. Going back to what Kouzes and Posner said, they said leadership is a performing art. Well, it's an improvisational art, because running an organization, it's a reality show. The characters are real, the people, the dramas. The drama can be exhilarating because you see people achieving great and wonderful things. But there are days, of course, where it's disappointing as conflicts arise and as people fall off the script. And so I think it's critically important that in order to create these performing artists, these improvisational artists, it requires intentionality. And so we've got to be able to clearly understand how do we develop young people and old people. I mean, I'm now in my early 70s, and I still study leadership. I've been a practitioner, a student, and now a teacher of leadership for, probably about 55 years now. And it never ceases to exhilarate me and just leave me in awe of how people can get the idea, get the appetite, get the passion.
The drive.
The drive. Absolutely. It's great. The drive, the passion, and the recognition that as a leader, I am in relationship, because leadership is always about the relationship that you have with people. So leadership is a relationship. Leadership is a performing art. Leadership is a companion to culture management, because I think that's one of the first steps, I think, in developing your leadership development programs is you've got to understand the link between the organizational culture and leadership. Because there too is Edgar Schein, a great social psychologist who wrote about organizational culture, talked about leadership and culture, two sides of the same coin. And so that's a key piece, I think, that you've got to be able to start to understand. What is the organizational culture? What is it we stand for? What's our fundamental purpose? How do we see that? I love what Schein had to say. Edgar Schein talked about the fact that a culture is a pattern of shared basic assumptions that the group has learned, and now they're going to pass on. The lessons they've learned are valid, and so we pass them on from one generation to the other in the company. And what it is we're teaching the lessons of the correct way
Mm-hmm.
to perceive, think, and feel
Yep.
in relation to everything that goes on in the company. So when we work with companies to help them solidify and enhance their organizational culture, gain clarity about it, what we're trying to do is walk through an exercise that helps them clearly articulate, here's what we want you to, we collectively, here's what we want to think, perceive, think, and feel about clients, about leaders, about the product, about the brand. And we just got in the list. And so that's a critical piece that if you're going to develop leaders, also make sure it's tied with what kind of culture you want, because you want to produce leaders who will live out and will support that. You know, being a leader at Walmart is different than being a leader at a hospice.
Yeah.
Those are two different things.
Yeah.
In the life cycle of the business, it can be separate things. And as I said, you've got to be intentional, not only about the culture, but then what do I see the role of leaders being? Years ago, probably 20 years ago now, I was called in, a company was looking for some help on leadership issues. And so I went to visit with them, and what they were looking for is just help us develop the perfect performance review sheet. What's that form look like? What's going to be the perfect form to develop a leader on the annual performance review? Well, that's a ridiculous question because it's not the form. It's the training to develop. And as I dug into what they were looking for, the mindset of the owner was such that the leadership, the supervisors, they had to be productive. They had to have 40 hours of billable performance. Being a team leader was extra duties. You had to take extra time, but you could not sacrifice production. Well, I mean, that diminished the importance of what leadership was all about. And so they were struggling to try to get good leadership, and they thought that it could be just in a form. How do I give you feedback? Rather than, and there's no investment whatsoever in first of all, defining leadership for the organization. So whether I work with an individual or I work with a company, I think one of the first things that's important to do is what's the organization's definition of leadership?
Yeah.
Because as I said, from company to company, leadership is going to be a little bit different. There are some fundamental principles that apply to leadership across the board. The techniques and conversations, again, it's that performing artist. But the performing as a ballet artist versus a tap artist, those are two different things. They're both dancers, but those are vastly different forms of dancing. And so I think you've got to be able to produce a leader that's right for your organization. So number one, you define what leadership is for your organization. Secondly, what are the leadership traits you want? So you got to be looking for I think at the top of the list is integrity. And I think that would be at the top of every organization's list of what attributes, what character traits are we looking for? We're looking for men and women of integrity. But then you can, depending on if you're working at hospice, compassion may be higher than if you're working in a manufacturing floor, in the sense of compassion towards customers. So first, define what you mean by leadership. What are those action verbs to describe? Here's the behaviors we want from our leaders. Number two, what are the traits we're looking at? And number three, what are the leadership skills that are absolutely essential with the organization? And that helps define what your leadership training program looks like. And then I think once you get that list, then trying to pick out the training program, I think you want to, there's 5 different types of doing that. You could have developmental relationships where the individuals have a mentor, a professional coach, there's peer learning, social interaction, so forth. There's developmental assignments. What's the progression of jobs that you want to give somebody, so you expose them to the knowledge that can be acquired only experientially. In other words, they got to be in it.
You got to be in it to win it. You got to be in it to experience it, to feel it, to know it. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And then what's the feedback processes? The performance appraisals, using 360-degree feedback assessments and so forth. And then you could, of course, have formal programs, whether you send them to universities, you send them to the local Chamber of Commerce, it has a leadership program. It's a lot of online stuff. In fact, we're going to launch our own GSSI online training program.
This is big news. When is this?
Well, by the end of the first quarter, we'll have
awesome.
Everything to have our online training program.
Great.
And there's a lot of good ones out there, but I think the market still could use one more. So we're going to put our offering.
Good for you.
Yeah, and then I think the fifth element. So again, you got developmental relationships.
And unfortunately, we're almost out of time. We have 2 minutes left, just letting you know, because we got a late start due to the issues. So I apologize for that. But let's go over 5 quick if we can, and we can also recap next time. Go for it.
Yeah, developmental relationships, developmental assignments, progression, feedback processes, formal programs, and the last one is self-development activities. Okay. What's the person going to do for themselves? What's their reading program? What's their involvement in community activities? Get them out and let them be a leader in a community activity, a not-for-profit or the whatever else is there. So anyway, I hope one of the things people will take away from today is that leadership is an essential part of running an organization. Be intentional about it. Mm-hmm. Realize that you're going to have a culture. You cannot not have a culture. If you're an organization, you're going to have a culture. And that culture, to be effective, needs effective leadership, because leadership and culture are two sides of the same coin.
Sure does.
So be intentional, and we would love to be able to support your leadership development training programs.
No matter where you are worldwide, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Well, I've been fortunate. I've been doing it in a lot of businesses, a lot of sectors. I've done it for manufacturing companies, construction companies, transportation companies, not-for-profits. That's why I love what I do, because of the variety.
Beautiful. Well, we unfortunately have to go. Remind us how we can reach out to you. Would you mind sharing again all the best forms?
Yes, absolutely. The best thing is my email address, tedavis@graceforsuccess.com. And my phone number, 913-306-1499. And send me a text or give me a call.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you back here. As always, Happy New Year. Happy, healthy, and we will chat again soon. Great to see you here on the Zoomcast as well. Thanks so much, Dr. Ted.
Thank you.
All right. Have a fantastic day. And to all of our listeners and viewers, stay tuned. We will be right back with more. Bye-bye.
Looking to unlock your leadership potential? Connect with Ted Davis, owner and leadership coach at Grace Strategic Services, Inc. Ted partners with you to inspire growth, drive results, and foster excellence. Start your journey to success today. Call 913-306-1499 or visit grace4success.com.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.